And you know, I was starting to write more, and Jim was starting to write less, and you know, we had less time to come up with songs too, because you know, once you have a hit album, you got to come up with the next one. So
the incubation period is gone with success, and everybody wants to hear "Light My Fire." Great, but we want to write new stuff.
You know, for the first album, we recorded that thing in less than a week.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, because you know, but we had 2 years in order to work the songs out, so they were perfect. You know, after the first and the second album, we still had plenty of songs that we could work on, but after that, it was like come up with brand new stuff in the studio. So you know,
and Jim's self-destruction is increasing. He's moved on to alcohol. You know.
Which is probably the worst drug of all.
Well, that's saying something. You're saying, particularly for Jim. John, did you know when you first met him, or in the early going, that his father was a decorated admiral in the U.S. Navy? In fact, commanded a carrier off Vietnam?
No, I did not. And in fact, when we finally got a little record deal, we had individual bios, and in his section where it has parents, he put deceased, which they were not.
No.
But kind of some friction there with his dad.
Well, there was definitely some friction. That's right.
Friction, to say the least.
A father, I want a mother.
Well, you've raised it. I was just about to raise it. Was it at the London Vogue or here at the Whiskey A Go-Go? Yeah. Here at the Whiskey A Go-Go, from what I can read, he was under the influence of something. And he said some terrible things about his father and his mother, so much so that even here at the Whiskey A Go-Go, which is not exactly a parish, that they fired you. So what was that about? What did that tell us about Jim?
Dan, that terrible, I think, is the wrong. I mean, I didn't know. They sounded kind of terrible to me. Here I am drumming, and he's like, "Father, I want to." But then later I realized, oh, he's kind of framing the Oedipal myth, Greek mythology, into the end. And of course we were fired immediately, but maybe it was metaphoric for all those hippies. He's helping them cut their umbilical cord from the parents. You know, at the time, anyone over 25 we didn't trust because we got lied to about Vietnam. So.
Well, I don't think he was thinking about all that when he said those words. I mean,
well,
when he
subconsciously, I think.
That night, he didn't make it to the show, the first set. Yeah. And we were really worried because he'd never missed a show before. And so we went out looking for him. And I think you and Ray found him at the motel down there.
Yeah.
And he had taken too much LSD, even for Jim, which was tough to do because he took a lot. So much so that he was like hiding under the bed. So anyway, we got him back here for the next set. And that's when and he says, I want to do the end. And we go, the end, we always do that at the last, as the last song of the set. No, I want to do it now. I want to do it first. So, okay, we do the end. And that was the first time that those words came out. And I think it was just much of a surprise to us as anybody else. The thing about those words is that they are the Oedipal complex. You know, if you read Freud and all that, there's something in everybody that wants to take your mother and away from your father, and you want to do something better than your father did, thereby killing him, you know, metaphorically. It's in all of us, but he really felt it that night. I mean, it wasn't just something he wrote. It was he really felt that.
That's a very good explanation.
No, and most people never feel that. They don't. It's buried in there. That's why they have to go see a psychiatrist to learn about it. Right. But to him, you know, his feelings were so near the surface that's where that came from.
I want to capture that moment as best we can. We're talking about something that happened what?
It's right here.
More than
Right
half
on
a
that
century
Right up
ago.
there.
But
I'm
right-
like, I'm playing and he's saying this stuff and I'm going, we're never going to make it. We're destroyed. Everything we're trying to do is ruined.
And here is your lead singer talking about killing his father and having carnal knowledge of his mother. And you're thinking to yourself, what?
I'm thinking, where did he come up with that stuff? You know, I didn't know what to think. I was just happy that we got him back to the stage for the second show. It just kind of went by me. I didn't know what to think. You know, in those days, Dan, it was like, in the 60s, it was like, that was the era of do your thing, man. You know, whatever happens goes. It's cool. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you know, it's good. It really didn't surprise me that much, to tell you the truth.
Mother, I wanted.
Jim Morrison's self-destructive tendencies were well known, but his untimely death at age 27 still shocked friends and fans alike. More on the life and death of Jim Morrison when we come back.
You gotta be here to see this.
We're back, baby.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Van Ness, TV host, podcast host, figure skater, gymnast, cat parent, dog parent, person with great hair, and today, a Skillshare teacher. Welcome to my class.
Publishers Clearinghouse is all across America.
It's your last chance to win $5,000 a week for life.
Enter now at PCH.com. August 31st, it could be you.
$5,000 a week for life. Enter now at PCH.com.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
Socks are the #1 most requested item in homeless shelters. Underwear is #2. And t-shirts are #3. That's why we make incredibly comfortable socks, underwear, and t-shirts. And we donate one for every one you buy.
Before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kiss.
After years in the spotlight, Jim Morrison moved to Paris with his girlfriend to focus on poetry. He died suddenly on July 3rd, 1971. His gravesite is now a shrine where fans from all over the world still come to pay tribute. We've talked a lot about your success, individual success and the combined success of the Doors. Robby, and I'll give you a second to think about this. What's the biggest mistake you've made in your life?
Oh, gosh. That's a good one. Well, you know, looking back, obviously, if we could have saved Jim Morrison, you know, because that was the worst thing that ever happened to us when Jim passed, you know, at the age of 27.
You saw the manifestation of this self-destruction, and without judging you at all, did you ever think to yourself, listen, we have to get him some help. We need to get him to a psychiatrist. We need to get him to a dry-out place.
We tried, Dan.
Yeah. My dad was into psychiatry. He went to, he went to one himself, and so we brought Jim over to my house a couple of times, and my dad would talk to Jim about, you know, maybe seeing somebody. And
He did go.
I mean, Jim knew that he was, you know, had a problem, especially with the alcohol.
But he did go one time. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
And he just put the guy on, the psychiatrist on the whole time. Just put him on, fooled with him. He wasn't going to buy into
he
being
thought-
introspective.
Jim's problem was he was too smart. He knew he was probably smarter than the psychiatrist. I was going, what's this guy going to tell him?
So you tried, but did you ever reach the point where the three of you just say to him, look, we're going to walk out, we're going to leave you in your life unless you get some help?
I threw my drumsticks down one night recording, and everybody knew it was just, I couldn't take it anymore. Jim was like drunk in the studio and whatever. And Dan, I came back the next day because this was my path in life. I found a road to make a living at something I loved. It was tied to this crazy singer. What are you going to do? And fortunately, when I came back that day, they didn't say anything. Oh, hi, John. Let's record.
That was normal business as usual. But, you know, in those days, we didn't have Betty Ford or anything like that. It was the days of do your own thing, man. Everything's cool. You know, if some guy wants to kill himself with alcohol, yeah, go do it, man. You know, you didn't tell people what to do.
We didn't know he had a disease.
Yeah,
you know.
To us, it was just a phase he was going through.
And you know, people have asked me over the years, well, if Jim was around today, would he be clean and sober? And I always used to say, no, he was a kamikaze drunk. And I've changed my story the last few years because I think about Eric Clapton. Eminem is a very angry but real talented guy like Jim, and he's cleaned up. So yeah, it's a different time. And if Jim was around, why not?
Well, we'll never know.
No. If he was around today, at least we know so much more about treatment programs and how to do that. It's still very difficult. Still no good answers, but
John, what's the biggest mistake you made in life?
I think one of the really big mistakes in life I made was when we were offered then a lot of money for the idea of using Light My Fire to sell Buick cars. Come on, Buick, light my fire. I, along with Robby and Ray, considered it. And Jim is my ancestor, and he flipped out, and Robby mainly wrote those words. Why did he flip out? Because he cared about what our entire catalog, everything we were doing. And I think that was a big mistake. Fortunately, he blew up and we didn't do it.
Well, there was a lot of money on the line, so perhaps you can be forgiven for at least entertaining the idea.
Yeah, well,
what happened was Jim wasn't around at that time. He was off somewhere on a vacation or something. And so you and Ray and I got the offer, and we said, oh, this might be cool. You know, it was a little Buick Opal, good on gas and all that. Yeah. And so we said, oh, yeah, Jim will be okay with it, you know. So we signed the deal. And then when he came back,
Jim was not all right.
No.
He said he'd smash a Buick on television for the commercial. He cared so much about all the stuff. You know, we're artists, so money isn't first. If you make a bunch of money, great. But that shouldn't be the first motive.
But you said your main goal in the beginning was to pay your rent for 10 years.
Yeah. Paying my rent at something I love. Nothing wrong with that.
No. So what's wrong with selling Buick Light My Fire?
Well, because it's twisting the words. If you make your words into a jingle, It's the sound of coins in your pocket, and maybe you just sold your audience.
The band's songs may not appear in television commercials, but major motion pictures are another story. More of my interview with the Doors when we return.
So then I said to him, you ought to customize your car insurance with Liberty Mutual, so you only pay for what you need. Hot dog or chicken?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. If you're eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, this important message is for you. Hi, I'm Lowell, and I'm here with important information from WellCare about your Medicare benefits. If you have both Medicare and Medicaid, or if you think you may be eligible, you could qualify for extra benefits you don't have now. Right now, the only thing you need to do is call the toll-free number on your screen. Let us send you this free all-in-one guide with absolutely no obligation.
I have both Medicare and Medicaid, and I don't want to miss out on important benefits. What can I get from WellCare?
With WellCare, you'll have all of your original Medicare benefits, plus prescription drug coverage, dental, vision, hearing, transportation, home-delivered meals, an over-the-counter allowance, free fitness membership, COVID-19 testing and treatment, telehealth online doctor visits, and more. You'll also have a yearly over-the-counter allowance to purchase health-related items like vitamins and toothpaste at participating CVS retail locations or safe home delivery through our catalog. Plus, if you have limited income and resources, you may qualify for extra help paying for your prescriptions.
How much does the WellCare Medicare Advantage plan cost?
In most cases, if you're eligible, you can get these extra benefits from WellCare for a $0 or low monthly premium. Plus, with the WellCare Visa Flex Card, you'll get money you can use toward dental, hearing, or vision needs that may not be covered by your plan. Call now to request your free all-in-one guide with absolutely no obligation. WellCare licensed representatives are standing by to answer your important questions and help you get the extra benefits you deserve. So call now.
Call 1-877-297-0387. That's 1-877-297-0387.
"8 years after Jim Morrison's death, the Doors gained a whole new generation of fans when Francis Ford Coppola chose their song, The End, for the opening sequence of Apocalypse Now, one of the most important Vietnam War films ever made.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend, the end.
The End was chosen as more or less the theme song, certainly the opening and close, of Apocalypse Now. Did you know it was going to be used for that, and what was your reaction?
They actually had the right to use any Doors music they wanted. So we made that deal with Francis Ford Coppola before they shot the movie. So it was kind of a surprise to me that The End was really the only song that they used, especially at the beginning of the movie. You know, it was kind of weird, but you know, when I went and saw the movie, I was floored. It was just beautiful opening of the movie. You know, the helicopters going by, and my guitar actually starts the whole soundtrack for the movie.
Yeah.
Love that.
Whatever you thought about the war, that didn't make you feel pretty good. The opening of the film has your guitar riff.
Exactly.
Incredibly powerful. I mean, Jim originally wrote it kind of as a love song, a goodbye song to his girlfriend. It resonated with the guys in Vietnam. They were going through hell, and the song was about darkness, and it worked.
Were you surprised they used it in the film?
Well, as Robby said, Francis was a bit of a, dare I say, megalomaniac. I mean, he purchased all our songs, and then he used one Doors song. But it was so powerful. You know?
There was another scene that I heard about that they used Light My Fire,
Right.
where the soldiers are actually teaching the the Vietnamese kids how to sing "Light My Fire."
Right.
I wish he would have used that one.
Hey, Dan, can I make a statement to you?
Well, you can make a statement, but I asked the question.
I got it. I just want to thank you for you and your network. Back in the day when we were all coming up, you guys, you showed the body bags coming back from Vietnam. That doesn't go on anymore, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, since you've raised it. The Doors came into prominence during, in some ways, the height of the Vietnam War. Do you think it still reverberates in American society, or has it finally begun to fade, John?
I would say that the government definitely learned thoroughly the lesson of not showing wounded warriors, because that won't help your propaganda for the next skirmish.
I would say that I'd say we didn't learn our lesson, you know. I mean, the lesson to me of Vietnam was don't go messing around with other people's countries, you know, unless they're really a danger to us. And we're still doing it.
So Jim wrote The Unknown Soldier during that period. Right. He didn't name Vietnam. Breakfast where the news is read, television, children fed, unborn living, living dead, bullet strikes the helmet's head, it's all over for the unknown soldier. Right. Maybe he intuited that we didn't thoroughly learn the lessons, therefore we move on to Iraq and Afghanistan and North Korea and whatever the fuck.
Well, forgive the personal reference, but I was in Vietnam for 1965, 1966, and then back for a shorter time. I was there for about a year. Shorter time later, by 68, 69, and 70, of the music I heard played by soldiers who were actually fighting the war rather than those who might be back in Saigon or someplace, I would say the Doors music and country music were the two genres, if you will, that I heard the most. And my question is, John, why do you think that is?
Jim's lyric, lost in a Roman wilderness of pain, all the children are insane, waiting for the summer rain. It resonated. Singing about hell.
Yeah, the Doors were one of the few groups, I think, in the flower power era of what was, you know, in San Francisco, and, you know, all that stuff was going on, and a lot of the music was about that. But the Doors, we weren't bound by those rules at all. We talked about a lot of darker things, and I actually wrote a song called "Love Me Two Times," which I envisioned a guy with his girlfriend, and he's going off to Vietnam the next day. So, love me two times, I'm going away.
Love me two times, baby. Love me twice today.
More of my interview with the Doors, Robby Krieger and John Densmore, when we return.
I'm gone away.
He stands alone atop the pinnacle of his profession.
The god of pro wrestling, Eddie, my God, Omega!
He is the sinister threat to the throne.
I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to humble you.
The Draw, Sami Callihan.
Bash his damn brains in.
A battle for the Impact World Championship. Impact Wrestling presents Slammiversary. Live this Saturday night on pay-per-view.
Welcome to the Jam, a Space Jam New Legacy box from Super Chewer. Tough toys and treats inspired by Bugs and the Toon Squad.
What's up, Doc?
Get yours today at superchewer.com.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Van Ness, TV host, podcast host, figure skater, gymnast, cat parent, dog parent, person with great hair, and today, a Skillshare teacher. And welcome to my class.
Are you breathing clean air? EPA research shows we spend up to 90% of our time indoors, where air can be up to 5 times more polluted. Molecule is air purification reinvented. As air flows through the device, a light-activated Pico filter breaks down pollutants at a molecular level, including bacteria, viruses, and chemicals. Protect your indoor air with Molecule. Available at molecule.com, Amazon, and Best Buy.
Here's where the music was the most important.
Unrated.
Okay, at AT&T, everyone gets our best deals on all smartphones. Let me break it down. You got your new customers, they get our best deals. You got your existing customers, they also get our best deals. Everyone gets the deals. Questions?
Got it. But why did you use a permanent marker?
Because I want to make sure you remember. I'm gonna get a new whiteboard.
It's not complicated. Only AT&T gives everyone our best deals on every smartphone, like the Samsung Galaxy S21 5G for free.
Well, I want to ask a difficult question.
Oh, really?
Well, it'd be a historic first if I did. But it's awfully hard when you've had as many terrific songs. But I want you to imagine with me. Life's come to an end. It comes to us all. And we're having a memorial service for you. And we want to play one of the Doors songs. One of the Doors songs. What would you have us play?
No me moleste mosquito.
What?
That was a song I wrote after Jim died. And the three of us, John, Ray, and I, we did 2 albums, actually. And on the second album, I had written this song about a mosquito, which I was down in Mexico, and I was on vacation. And there was this little band that came down from the hills of the mariachi type guys. And they were singing about a mosquito or something. So I got the idea to write this song. And I actually sang it on the album. And believe it or not, that song is, after Light My Fire, was our biggest seller as far as a single goes, because it was in Spanish. I had the words "No me moleste mosquito," meat or burrito or something like that. And it sold all over the Spanish-speaking world and became like a big hit. A lot of good
So that's
covers.
the song you want at your epitaph. Okay.
I think so, yeah. Remember that.
All right. John, what about you?
Riders on the Storm. Into this house we're born, like an actor out on loan, a dog without a bone. You know, maybe Robby and I and Ray and Jim are the 4 riders on the storm of the apocalypse.
Yeah, I think that song has probably the best feel of any song we ever did, because
it's relaxed.
Yeah, it's so, and it's Ray's best solo for sure.
Oh.
I want to ask you something about